Justin, Claude by Anthropic is another one that we include in our training. And I'd like to do a real simple introduction to it because some people find that its writing style is a little better. Some like it in rewriting what they do. And it does have a free level and a paid level.
If you want to kind of humanize it, as we tend to do with these tools, Claude does a lot better job, I feel like, explaining in a way that seems natural in the way we communicate. It also does a little bit better when you're looking at teaching, if you were to have one of these tools tutor you. Because, for example, if I were to ask it to help me with an Excel formula, what I have found is not only is it going to give me the best formula for the job, it's also going to explain what it does. It's going to give me an example of how I could use it without me even asking. So it kind of has more of a clarification on things and is more generous in its explanation than what I've found competitors are.
Just talk about the windows in case people have never been on this before. What are we looking at so they know if they've worked on ChatGPT? These are very similar. Sometimes they have
Mhm.
different terms, and of course, this has a cutoff date of 2023. Right at the moment of this recording, the
Hmm.
thing is this can all change next week. But the moment of this recording, it doesn't have live web access like Copilot does, where it's connected with Bing or some of the others that we teach. But just talk about what we're seeing on the screen.
So the free version is trained up to April 2023, with some of the paid versions a little sooner than that or more recent than that. Well, when you look at the page, it's set up very similar to ChatGPT, what you expect with your left hand toolbar having your previous chats and how to create a new chat, your history. With also, you have the option on the bottom of the middle screen on the main dashboard window to host your recent chats as well if you want to click on them and enter into them. The toolbar is more focused in your central frame of view on the input with Claude, and it's very easy to switch through right there in the input bar your different model. What is unique to Claude that I think is neat is right next to your model selector in the input bar, you can select a style. And so you can click down and you have normal, concise, explanatory, formal, and you can even create and edit styles. And so that's pretty neat when you're looking at, say, writing a blog or working on something like that where you want to try different tones quickly. You can do that kinda how an older version of Copilot used to be, which I personally loved, having that function right there close by where I could change the tone. Now, one thing that Claude does nicely automatically that you usually have to kind of prompt around in other models, if you can see the screen, is I've queued up a PDF titled Shaping the Future of Project Management with AI. It's a really cool report that Project Management Institute launched and has a lot of really neat stuff that is impacting project management. So I queued it in there. It's a little bit of a larger document, and so I wanted to summarize it. The cool thing that Claude does is I don't have to ask it to. If I automatically upload something in a PDF or a Word or a document, it'll automatically start summarizing it for me. And to my understanding, Claude has one of the biggest selections of what you can upload, JSON, PDF, doc, all sorts of different formats you can upload, where some of the other models get a little picky on what they'll accept. And as you can see, without any prompting, it already noticed that I uploaded a document and that it started already summarizing it. And it does a pretty good job. Of course, I can expand more, but it captured the main spirit or content of what's in that document right out the get go. And so, of course, I can go ahead and start having that dialogue with it. Now, the free version is a little limited when you look at how many prompts or inputs you can put in. When you go to the paid version, you do get 5 times more outputs there. And of course, Claude has one of the bigger token ranges. I believe right now we're looking at 200,000 tokens. So you can put a lot of content in, much more than what you see with Microsoft Copilot. Microsoft Copilot tends to cut off on kind of smaller documents. You have to piece it in little by little. If I'm not mistaken, I think Claude actually still has more than Chat GPT. I'd have to check on that. But it's pretty amazing on the amount that you can upload in a PDF or even just copy and pasting in with Claude.
And then, like other large language models, you can ask further questions on this, whatever you want. And then you see you have the content here. This is why you'd want to sign in. If you're nervous, you could sign up with an email. If not, you can use a Gmail you want. In our experience, it's fairly safe to use.
Hmm.
There are also ways like with DuckDuckGo and others where you can get a taste of it at a more limited level without signing in at all. But we just wanted to introduce this. And just like the others, when you click the little up arrow, it sends. And then if you want to
Right.
do a new line, remember shift return is what we teach in the class. So you can organize things really for your benefit and not have it just immediately process it.
Another thing that's really neat about Claude is how it does the output window. And so when
Oh, yeah.
you ask it to create something like a diagram, I've not had as good experience creating images as I say with Dali and ChatGPT or Imagen with Gemini. But when it comes to creating diagrams, for example, I'm asking it create a Venn diagram of why you should learn AI. The window changes a bit. And what's neat about it is it'll actually start to show you how it's creating. And this is fascinating to me. w- It'll build the code behind it as it builds it before it gives you the actual product. And so you see here, there's a little that needs to be done to it. It's kind of put the text overlaid and whatnot, but it's a good start.
And this is in a format that if you're familiar with working with this format, you can then tweak it, but that's beyond what we want to cover. But still, you see how it generated it and kind of showed us what we're doing. I think that's an extremely good point of one of the other benefits of it.
Now, what does really impress me with Claude, and this is I've really expanded this in the paid version for $20 a month. This is just going from that free version into more, if you're going to look at something we like to show everything, is I've heard that Claude is really powerful with building apps. And so what I wanted to do is I have a concept that I'm working on, Delta Iota Learning, to where the concept I put in here is thinking of a desktop app that runs in the background. And as you run into issues, it provides training resources to you. I am dabbling in Python. I would not call myself literate in it, but
Yet.
yet, exactly. That's one of my things I'm learning. But I did want to see how using prompts could help me build an app. And so through 3 or 4 back and forths on how I wanted to change it, right now, if I click here, I can actually get a preview of this app. And if I want to look into it, I can actually see various versions of it. And what really caught me off guard and surprised me about this was each time it produced the artifact, which is the app I'm asking it to do, it actually suggested additions to it. And let's see if I can expand this. So there's currently 37 versions of what I'm doing. And what was really interesting was every time it suggested it, I didn't have to necessarily go into, well, this or that, unless I wanted to pick different things. But if I went ahead and asked it to apply it, it would already update it. So, some concerns were, was it secure? How can we have it auto update? how can we add a light dark mode thing, just things like that. And so what it would do is each new version would be an updated version from the last. If I know how to publish and deploy apps, this is a huge time saver. If I'm just getting into it, like I am dabbling with it, this is still something where if I were going to outsource to a developer, just like writing contracts with AI and working with a lawyer, this has saved a ton of time building from scratch. And so I can preview it. I can also see the code. And this is something that I could share with, if I know someone who develops apps, they can look at the code, make sure it's safe. They can look at the functionality. And so this is something that I haven't seen very often in other models that really did impress me. Again, to each your own. This might be worth the $20 for you. It might not. I do think it's a little light on the paid version for $20 on what it can do. However, the free version for what it can do is definitely one I use daily, especially if I'm going to be writing something that I want to have a warm, kind of more human feel to it. I definitely use Claude for that. Now, another thing I find really interesting is really, and this is more a fun thing for me, is because of how the output in Claude is that more human feel. I've found Claude as a philosopher, I believe. And so I've really challenged it if I'm in a creative mood and I really want to brainstorm things in a creative way. Claude has been the one that's impressed me most with just the idea generation and brainstorming on that one. So if you're a creative writer or you're a blogger or you have something that has more of a creative flair to it, it's not as cold as some people say Chat GPT is. It's a lot warmer. And I think that's really where Claude excels.
My intention is this gives people at least an idea to dabble in it and understand it's another tool, always changing. So keep up with our content. Imagine it's like all these different tools, and every week or so they upgrade, and we're doing what we can to make sure we keep up with each one of them so we present in our classes the most current and relevant content. Thanks so much, Justin. This was fun. Check it out. Love to hear from you. How are you using Claude? Put a comment in the message below. Also, you'll see some resources about our training and other information in the links below. Make sure, like all these, if you go to it, you want Claude by Anthropic so you don't get some other app or something else where they're charging you and they're using it on the back end. Just make sure you have the right links.
That's right. Stay safe, keep learning, and keep moving forward.